Babysitting is supposed to be simple. You're there to watch TV, keep the house quiet, make sure the kids are asleep, and wait for the parents to come home. Most of the time, nothing happens. That's why when something does go wrong, it feels deeply unsettling. You're in someone else's home, responsible for someone else's children, and whatever happens, you're alone with it. The first story comes from a woman who took a babysitting job during her senior year of high school. It was a large house on the edge of town, surrounded by trees. The parents had two young children, both under the age of 8. They seemed normal enough, polite but quiet. The parents explained that the kids went to bed early and usually slept through the night. Her job was mostly to stay downstairs and call them if anything came up. The first few hours were uneventful. The kids watched a movie, brushed their teeth, and went to bed without complaint. By 9 p.m., the house was completely silent. She sat on the couch scrolling through her phone when she heard a sound upstairs. Footsteps. At first, she assumed one of the kids had gotten out of bed. She waited, listening. The footsteps stopped. A few minutes later, they started again. Slow, deliberate, moving from one end of the hallway to the other. She called up the stairs, asking if everything was okay. No response. She went halfway up the staircase and called again. Still nothing. When she reached the top, the hallway was dark. The children's bedroom doors were closed. She gently opened the first door. The child was asleep. She checked the second room. Also asleep. As she turned to head back downstairs, she heard a sound directly behind her. Breathing. Close, slow, controlled. She spun around, expecting to see one of the kids standing there. No one was there. The breathing stopped immediately. Shaken, she returned downstairs and locked the door leading to the upper floor, telling herself she was just imagining things. She texted the parents to ask if anyone else was supposed to be in the house. They replied quickly, saying no. About 30 minutes later, she heard footsteps again. This time they were above her, moving across the ceiling. She grabbed her phone and called the parents, telling them something felt wrong. While she was on the phone, she heard a door open upstairs. Then another. The parents told her to take the kids and leave the house immediately. Police arrived shortly after. They found a man hiding in a guest room at the end of the hallway. He had been living in the house's unused attic space for weeks. She never babysat again. The second story comes from a college student who took last-minute babysitting jobs to make extra money. One evening, she was hired to watch a single child in a small suburban home. The parents told her the child would already be asleep when she arrived, and that she didn't need to enter the bedroom unless there was an emergency. The house felt strangely quiet when she arrived. No television noise, no pets, just the sound of a ticking clock. She sat in the living room doing homework when she heard a faint tapping sound. It was coming from inside the walls. At first, it was slow and irregular. Then it started forming a pattern. Tap, pause, tap, tap. She messaged the parents asking if the house had plumbing issues. They said no. The tapping stopped suddenly. Minutes later, the child's bedroom door opened. She looked up, expecting to see the child standing there. Instead, the door opened just a few inches and stopped. She waited. Nothing happened. She stood up and approached the hallway, calling the child's name. No response. As she reached the bedroom door, she noticed something unsettling. The tapping sound had returned, but now it was coming from inside the bedroom. She slowly pushed the door open. The child was asleep in bed, unmoving. The tapping was coming from the closet. She backed away, heart racing, and called the parents. While on the phone, the closet door opened on its own. Empty. Police later discovered that an access panel inside the closet led to a crawl space connecting multiple homes in the neighborhood. Someone had been moving through it. The third story is one that stayed with a babysitter long after the night was over. She was watching two children in a quiet neighborhood, one old enough to stay up a bit later, the other already asleep. The parents had gone out for dinner and were expected back before midnight. Around 10 p.m., the older child looked at her and asked a question that made her uncomfortable. "Why is the man standing outside?" She asked him what he meant. He pointed toward the window facing the backyard. She walked over and looked out. There was no one there. She laughed it off and told him it was probably just a shadow. He didn't seem convinced. A few minutes later, he asked again. "He's closer now. Why is he smiling?" She checked the window again. Still nothing. She closed the curtains and suggested they watch a movie. The child stayed quiet, occasionally glancing toward the back of the house. About 15 minutes later, the motion light in the backyard turned on. She froze. The light illuminated part of the yard, but no one was visible. She told herself it could be an animal. Still, she locked the doors. Then she heard a knock. Not at the front door, at the back door. She didn't answer. The knocking came again, slow, deliberate. 3 knocks. The child started crying, saying, "That's him." She called the parents and then the police. Officers arrived quickly and searched the yard. They found footprints leading from the fence to the back door and back again. No one was found. The parents came home early and apologized repeatedly. The babysitter left shaking. Babysitting horror doesn't come from ghosts jumping out or loud screams. It comes from responsibility. From realizing that you're the only adult in the house, and if something goes wrong, it's on you. It's the quiet moments that make it worse. The unexplained sounds, the strange questions, the feeling that someone is nearby when no one should be. And for many babysitters, the scariest part isn't what happened that night. It's knowing that if things had gone just a little differently, no one might have known until it was too late.